Hi, my name is Caroline, and I am a studio instructor here for the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. Thanks for watercoloring with me today. Today I'm going to teach you two really cool techniques that you can use with watercolors at your house. So this is my paper, my watercolor paints, and my cup of watercolor brushes with some nice clean water. So we're going to learn about two ways to make some really interesting texture with your watercolor. First, I'm just going to put some pigment down, and you can use wet on wet or wet on dry. I like to use wet on wet for fun. I'm going to do some nice warm colors. So I have my reds and my oranges and my yellows all working together. I think I want a little more yellow for a pop. There we go. Okay, and now that I have whatever color I want down, now this could be a big space, a small space, whatever you want, whatever works best for your watercolor or your experimentation. And then I'm going to take some plastic wrap and I'm going to press it down over top of my wet watercolor. Now you want to make sure that you apply the plastic wrap when your pigment is wet. If your pigment's already dry, this technique will not work. And you want to make sure that you press it down. And if you look closely, you can already see that the plastic wrap is sort of pushing and pulling the pigment all around. And this is going to make a really cool texture when I let it dry and peel up the wrap. Now the second thing we're going to learn about is using rubbing alcohol to create another interesting texture. So using wet on wet to get plenty of pigment and color down for my second technique. And now I'm going to use some nice cool colors. So I'll get my blues, maybe some greens, and some purples. Oh, a little bit of brown in there, that's okay. And you could do this one solid color or many colors. It's sort of fun to have many. And you want to make sure you have plenty of pigment and plenty of color or this technique won't work. Looks a little muddy over here, so I'm just gonna throw in some blue. And if you see puddles of water on your paper, you can just use a paper towel sort of as your eraser to dot some of it up. And I think I'll add a little bit more green before I have fun with the rubbing alcohol. Okay. So now that I have my pigment down, I'm going to use a very, very, very clean brush, or you can use something like a Q-tip. And with the rubbing alcohol and your very clean brush, you're just going to put some of that on your brush and drop it into your wet watercolor pigment. Now, if you have been following along with us, you'll notice that this is having the opposite effect from the salt technique. This is actually pushing all of the pigment away. Now you can try sort of splattering your brush like so. Let's see if I can sort of splatter with my, oh whoa, explosion. Really fun for galaxies. Again, if you want to try with a Q-tip, you can. Even if you draw with it, it's sort of like, it just forces everything to move, like so. is a really fun way to use watercolor and explore, especially with positive and negative space. So one awesome example of really fun, beautiful watercolor is by artist Nell Blaine in their painting titled October Landscape. Now, when you look at this painting, it's in the BMFA collection. You can see the vibrant colors and the space, and maybe you can be inspired by these two techniques using the plastic wrap and the rubbing alcohol to try something like that beautiful October landscape yourself. Now, ideally, you would want to let this plastic wrap dry a little longer, but once it's nice and dry, you can peel it up and the texture is revealed underneath. Even though it's not completely dry, you can start to see the beautiful texture that it is creating underneath. Thank you so much for watercoloring with me today. I hope you have fun exploring these two new techniques at home.